Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today I will show you how you can make a cool animation for your list header like this one using Jetpack Compose. First, let's see how the animation works. My animation here consists of two components. The first one is a curved text, which I'm gonna animate in downward while scrolling down the list, and it will animate upward scrolling up the list. Second component is going to be the icon here, and that icon will do the animation for scale in and the scale out while scrolling the list. Let's see step by step how we can implement the header. So I have created an empty project. Here in main activity, I will try to add the curved text first on a composable function. So I will get rid of the greeting functions. I will, for example, add the curved text function. In this function, I'm willing to add the canvas, and I will try to add the arc, which we are going to draw the text on it, right? So first, to add the canvas, I will use the path, and that path is basically the arc that I'm going to use. I will use Android.graphics, and then I will use the apply scope function, and I wish to add the arc here, and the arc actually needs rectangular, which is an object of rectf, which is basically the rectangular that we're going to draw the arc on it. So basically we can add the rectangular, which is gonna be rectf. I will first import it. So the left will be 0f and the top will be 0f, and the right, which express the width of my rectangular here, I'm gonna set it to 100f, and the bottom as well. So basically I have right now a rectangular for width and height of 100f. The arc then need the start angle, which is gonna be 180, and the sweep angle, which is gonna be 180 as well. So that will end up with an arc, and that arc will start horizontally, and then I will add the paint object, and that paint object basically is gonna be the text paint object. I'm gonna use the apply, so I can, for example, add the color and add the text size. Now I can call canvas. We'll add the default modifier, and then I will use the draw in canvas, and I will use it.native canvas where I can draw, and I will draw text on path. First thing that is gonna be the text itself. So could, for example, say hello world. The other thing gonna be the path, which is the path that we already created. H offset, which represents the horizontal offsets, gonna be 0f for now, and I will show later how the vertical offset and horizontal offset would be needed for our animation. But for now, I'm gonna add it as 0 values, and then I will use my paint object, which is gonna draw the text itself. I wanted to call my function here of a curved text, and I will use the padding over here. Basically gonna pass the modifier, and we'll add it here as well, and apply that modifier to the canvas. I'm gonna add some other paddings, and probably I will have to increase the rectangular a little bit. All right, so here's our text being displayed on the arc. And to imagine how it works right now, the rectangular here represents imaginary. That would be the box over here. And our arc starts from 180 degree, which starts from the horizontal line here, and it will go through the rectangular, which is going to end somewhere here at that point. And because of we're drawing the text on the base, and it's gonna be by default rendered from the very first point on the arc. And now, since I wanted to display the text right on the center of the arc, not at the beginning, so I just need to figure out how could I calculate the offset, which is basically the horizontal offset here. So if, for example, I set it to something else, you will see that the text would be at a different position on the arc. In order to do that, I will first need to get the arc length and get the center point where I can draw the text. So I can get the arc length by using the mass.by and then multiplied by the half of the rectangular. So here I will add the arc length as a math.by multiply bar 150, which is exactly the half of this value, and then I will get the center of the arc by dividing the arc length by 2. And if I use that value here with the edge offset, well, it starts drawing the text on the arc, but from the center, so that's not the required behavior. I just wanted the whole text to be centered on the arc. So in order to do that, I need first to measure the length of the text over here. So for our convenience, I will add the text as a val, and then I will use the paint object to do so. So I would say length of text, and I'm gonna use a measure text. And in order to get the what would be the offset that I need to start drawing my text with, I will need to get the center of the arc and then subtract the text width from it. I will add another val offset, which basically center of the arc minus length of text divided by 2. Let's use the offset right here and instead of the center of the arc. Here we go. So we got the hello word centered on the arc. And for our use case, the text is gonna change while we are scrolling on the list, and I will use the other function here, and it will be responsible for calling the other function, the curved text. And for now, I will just use another modifier here. I will do some other modification later on. Since I wanted to change the text here, I'm gonna use the mutable state of, so I can change it over time when we do other actions. Let's say that we have the text as a mutable state. I'm gonna add it in a remember block for sure. Mutable state of empty text for now, and the curved text will have the text as an input, which is gonna be the string. So everything should be fine for now, but the difference is that I just wanted to make sure that changing the text will reflect on the curved text as well. So I'm gonna use the launched effects. Text dot value equal hello word. I'm sorry, and maybe adding some delay, and then adding any other thing. So let's find out. So this is the first one, and the other one is not working. Oh, I missed using the text here. All right. And now, since the text is right on the center of the arc, I'm looking for animating that text whenever the text got changed. I will first show you how the original animation works. The first thing that the text will do is that it will fade, as here, and it will go downward or upward depend on the scrolling. In order to do that, I need to control the alpha value for the text paint, which is basically will be responsible for the fade animation. And also I need to control the offset. And in this case, it's gonna be the vertical offset. So let's add first an animatable object for those two parameters. Vertical offset. And I remember block. And it's going to be animatable. And the offset, I will set it by default to 0, where the text will be drawing on the curve or on the path without any offset. And the other object will be the alpha. I will add it on the remember block as well. And the alpha will range from 0 to 55. To 55, that means that the text is fully visible, and 0 will be the text transparent. I will use then the alpha here, the alpha value. Let's move it here. Just wanted to make sure that I put it a different name here. And I will use the alpha value to the end. Animatable here will only accept the float, and the alpha needs a bigger value of it. And I will use also the vertical offset value here. So let's implement the basic animation here. For that, I will be using the launch effect on that context. The launch effect here would listen for any change that happened to the text. So key one here in that example would be the text. What I wanted here is to launch two of the parallel animation. So for that reason, I will use launch curtains inside the launch effect block. And the first one would control the vertical offset. So I will animate the vertical offset. It starts with 0 here. So I will give it like a value for like 40F. The animation specs here, which you're gonna control for how long it will be animated, and the specification as well. I'm gonna make it by default for the tween, which you're gonna get into 1 second. And for the other one, which is gonna be the alpha on that case, I will, for example, animate it to 0F, where it will be transparent. And also for the animation specs, I'm gonna set it to tween as well. So it will going to fade into 1 second, and it will going downward into the same 1 second. And for now, setting a new text wouldn't be visible, as we already set the alpha to be transparent, and also we set the vertical offset. In order to retrieve that so we can make the animation for the new text, I will first set the vertical offset to be in the opposite direction. So I'm gonna animate it to -40F. By doing that, we are expecting that the offset will be on the top again. So whenever we animate the new text, it will go downward the same direction of our animation. I will add it in a launch block. And also I will add another launcher block that will set the alpha, which is going to animate to 255 with the animation spec of tween over 1000. And for now, I will add this initial animation, 2 coroutines into single coroutine, and I will add it into coroutine scope, which will make sure that those coroutines happen first, and the other 2 coroutines I will add it into a coroutine scope as well. So I will also make it a little bit shorter for the animation. So let's first, maybe that would be the first section, for example, and add delay of 1 second or maybe 2 seconds in that case, and update the text with section or second section. Let's see. So the animation here works a little bit different. It displays the first section and it will take it upward, but it will show the same text. So in order to fix it, I will make sure that the vertical offset first will be set to -40 by using the Animate, of course, to -40F. Then I will animate it to be 0F, so it would return to the same original position of the screen. Alright, so for now, as you see, it animates, but still I need to manage the state for my text, so I can control when the animation would start, and to update the text, I will add the mutable state for the text. Let's add it here. I'll add it into the remember block, and initially it's gonna be empty, and that text value will be used here. And whenever we have a new text, I will first make sure if the text.value is empty, it means that it will be the first text, and I will set the text value with the text, and I'm not looking for doing any animation for the very first value. And then if it's not the case, then I will set the text value here to be of text. But there's a glitch here that the offset being changed, the horizontal offset being changed, and that's probably because of the text has been changed and it's not calculating the exact offset. So here I will add a remember block, and I will listen for the text value, where it's the thing that I will be listening for to change the length of the text, and I will use a mutable state of, just to make sure that I'm getting the exact offset. So here, yeah, it works fine. Now it can reflect the exact offset depending on the text value state that I'm changing. And let's add more text here so we can make sure it would be exactly the same thing that we were looking for. All right, first section, second section, third section, and fourth one. All right, that would animate on the downward animation direction, and the other directions that we are looking to support as well is the upward direction. I will add a Boolean flag here, so it's a downward direction. I will use it down here. For animation on the opposite direction, it would be exactly the same, but changing the number from positive to negative. So if it's downward, let's name it direction. So the vertical at that time would be above the original position on the screen. And also here, if it's a downward direction, it's going to be minus 40, else it's going to be 40F. I can make it controlled by the other function. So if it's true, it's going to give the same results. And let's try if it's going to be set to false. Here we go. All right, so now it works on pose direction. I will make the direction to be a mutable state as well, because I'm about to change it when I link it to the list later. I will make it true by default. That would be the same, but using the mutable state. So as for now, the text animation works well. I will do some cleanup so I can add the icons animations. So first, let's look at the canvas. I just wanted to give it a specific size so I can properly align it into our container. We're setting some paddings, but I'm looking to set a specific size for it. And since the sizes would be with a dB value, but here since I'm drawing the rectangular with the float value, I will add the function that can convert the dB value to pixel. Working with the dB value or unifying the work with the dB value would be the best in our case. So I will add the functions that do the conversion. It will take the dB value, and then I will call the local density to current. Well, to convert it, I will use maybe 100 dB. So it's going to be convenient for our use. And for the equation of getting the arc length, 50 dB. Let's see if everything works fine. Yeah, it works fine. But I will make the rectangular a little bit bigger. Let's see. Yeah, I will set a specific size for it. So size would be of width 150 dB, and the height gonna be 75 dB. Here I will add a box, and that box will have some paddings. So I'll add the modifier first, full maximum size, and for the content alignment, I will set it to alignment or top center. We'll add it here. So now it displays at the top. I will add some other padding here on the top side. Right now, we could say that we probably can set the alignments for our box, including the curved text. And if we get back to our original animation, what we'll see is that it has a specific typeface or a specific font. To set that a specific typeface, I will get to the text paint, the object responsible to render my text. I will add the typeface, resource compact, and I will use a get font function. And here's the font that I'm using. I already added that font into my resources directory. I will also change the color of the text by setting the color to ARGB, and also text size. Here we can use the same function that we are using for db.pixels. Let's say 25 dB and find out how it works. Here we go. Before adding the icon, I will add a data model, which is going to include the title for the section and the icon as well. So I will add a data class here, maybe calling it as item, and it will contain the title as a string, and it will contain the icon as image vector. I'm willing to use the other icon for the defaults that's been included with Android. I will add a list of items, which is gonna be the list that I'm looking to add it. So here it's gonna be first section and second section and the third section as well. And the image vector here would be icons.default. Of course, it's something arbitrary. It's just for demonstration. And here, instead of passing the text.value, I will be passing the item.title. But in order to keep the index of what would be the current item, I will be adding a mutable state for the index. So I'm gonna add current index, or maybe current item index to be more specific. Remember, and it's going to be a mutable state of 0, and it will point to the very first item. And here I will get the exact item by its index. Oops. Here, instead of changing the text itself, I will change the index. So I wouldn't need that anymore, and I will depend on index value in a state. That should look pretty much the same. So for now, let's remove this one. It's not used anymore. And try to add the icon. So my icon here would do a different animation by scaling in and scaling out. And I'm gonna add it by using the animated content. So here I'm using the animated content function, and the target states would be the current index dot value, which is the thing that my animated content will listen for as a source of a change. And also I will set the transition specs, which basically a combination of what would be the transition happen for every change. And I will make it as a scale and animation together with scale out animation. So that would represent the entrance, and that would be represent the exit transition. And of course, I will add the content that I'm looking for. And here it's gonna represent the index. And I will use the icon, but instead of the painter, I will use the image vector. And I will use the list of index.icon with the content description the same title. Let's run it to see how it works. So it works, but it needs some adjustment. I will instead set the alignment to bottom. Instead of film maximum size, it shouldn't happen. I will set it to film maximum width. Yeah, so it needs to be a little bit longer just to keep in sync with the animation for the text. Also, I will increase the size of the icon itself. So I'm gonna set the modifier size to be maybe 40 dB. And also, I just wanted to set the tint of the icon. I will use the same hex code for the color. Of course, you can add it to the colors resources. Let's see how it works. It still needs some adjustment for the timing. I will make it shorter a little bit for the text to be displayed. I will set it to 300 instead of 500, so it can be a little bit faster. And for my scale in and scale out, I'm gonna set it to 1200. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. All right, so now we got the header animated. I will try to connect it with the lists, but I will add a description field so I can display the exact details on the list itself. And since that description will be a little bit longer, I'm gonna use the strings. And of course, you shouldn't hard code anything. I'm just doing that for demonstration. And I will use a description text here as a string resource. So it's will hold the string ID, and here I will only reference to the string of description text. And now I think that I'm ready to add the list. I will add another function that can hold both of the animated header and the list. Maybe you're renaming that as a content function. Here it's gonna be a column. I'm gonna set the modifier, fill maximum size, horizontal alignment gonna be alignment that center horizontally, and I will add my animated header here, and also I will get the list inside my content function. And I will move those two fields since I'm looking to control the values of it based on the scrolling. And instead, I will pass the item as one of the argument, and also I will pass the direction as the other one. And here I will call item.title. And here I will use the boolean. Here is also I'm gonna call item, and I will call item.icon, item.title. So here I will find which item by setting the list of current index, and which direction is by passing the as downward direction dot value, and of course calling the value here. I will add also the list here on a separate function. So I will name it as a item list, and that item list will have like a lazy column. I will set the modifier to be by default, and set the state of the lazy list. I will add it as a separate variable. And of course, item list now would take the list of item, and I will call items here, and the key here would be the item title, and inside each item I will draw the text, which actually the description here, and I will add a divider as well. So adding the text, I will set the text to string resource, and also setting the color with setting the same font family and setting the font size, and I will add the divider with some padding, Alright, so I added 16 dB and 16 dB also to the bottom and to the top. And now I will call the items list here. Was passing the list. And let's change the call here to be content. And let's see. Oh, I should remove Zeus as well. It's not relevant anymore. This should be item. I see. So now I got the list with the divider for each item, but for sure we didn't make the connection between the scrolling and the header yet. In order to do so, I will listen for what would be the first visible item. Of course, you cannot change it to anything else, but I will be listening for what would be the first visible item. So in that case, the first item is visible, and it's going to display the first section. And whenever the very first item or the very first visible item on the list would be item number 2, so it's going to display second section, and it works the same for the other sections as well. I will be looking for the first visible item by getting that information from the lazy list state. So in my case here, I will add first visible item, and it's gonna remember block, and it will be as a derived state of, as I'm not supposed to change it. It's gonna totally depend on the lazy list state. So I will call lazy list state dot first visible item index, and I will make a callback here on first visible item, and it's going to pass the index. And in order to call that callback, I will use the launched effect, and that launched effect takes the first visible item as a key, and that will call on first visible item callback with value of first visible item val. I will also add the callback block. I will add current index.value equal at. Also, I will do some comparison here. I would like to know what would be the direction for the animation by comparing the next index that's being visible on the list and comparing that to the previous index of the first visible item. And if it's greater, that means that we are scrolling down the list. And if it's not the case, then we are scrolling up on the list. Maybe calling that as the next index. If the next index is greater than the current, then that would make that it's is downward direction dot value equal true, else it would equal false, and then setting the current item index dot value equal next index. Let's see. So here's the first section. Here we go. So it displays the third section here, but if I scroll up, well, it goes the opposite direction for the animation. Here's the first section, here's the second section. It's successfully reflecting the direction for the animation. And of course, we can get to the header and add a little bit of padding. Here we go. So let's test the over scrolling. It will display the first section, and over scrolling on the opposite direction as well. It's gonna display the first section. And that was cool, isn't it? It's really interesting to see how Jetpack Compose make it easy to do the animation stuff, and especially that you can integrate it with some other components such as Canvas that we have shown in our example. And literally there are a ton of ideas that you can do with the animation. Please let me know in the comments if you wanted to see more videos about Jetpack Compose animation. So that was all for today. Stay tuned. See ya.